So you're doing some AMDX and you're hearing some stuff. But now what? What do you do with it? How do you keep track of all the stuff that you hear? Well, today on DX101, we're talking about logbooks. From everything as basic as this simple paper logbook to sophisticated computerized logbooks and online versions that you can use for deep analysis and even mapping of what you're hearing. So stay tuned. Started DXing AMDX, I knew that I wanted to find a way to kind of keep track of what it was that I was hearing. Nothing sophisticated, just, time and day, the station that I heard, and kind of, what it was that I heard, things like that. And so I started off with just a basic paper logbook, something very, very similar to this, actually, where I just kind of wrote it down and kind of went from there in a little spiral notebook. That evolved into an actual logbook that I got that had columns and fields for things like date and time, station that you heard, and notes and things like that. So that kind of evolved. And then over time, that continued to evolve, where eventually I was using things like online logbooks or commercially bought logbooks or Excel spreadsheets, things like that, different things that I could use to do analysis, because I figured out pretty early on with my paper log that I liked to do analysis to know how many stations I'd heard in Kansas, for instance. And it was a lot harder to do that, kind of counting one by one in my logbook, than I really liked. I didn't want to have to do that. I wanted to kind of be able to just run it and have it kind of tell me what those totals were. So that's where I kind of started looking at like an online or a computerized logbook of some sort. I still keep a paper logbook, but I have these other things that I do as well. So today what we're going to talk about is kind of how to get started in keeping a logbook. What are some of the things you definitely want to make sure that you keep an eye on, some of the fields and pieces of data that you might want to consider keeping track of? I mean, ultimately, this whole enterprise, this entire hobby is really based on you and your interest and kind of what you see as being important. But there's some things that I think that if you keep in mind tracking them now, early on, you'll thank yourself later if you decide to kind of go a different direction. So it doesn't hurt anything to keep track of now anyway. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about logbooks and different kinds of logbooks that you can keep, and what are some of the basic things, if you're kind of making your own, that you might want to keep track of. And we're going to start with the old-fashioned paper log. So first on our list of logbooks is the one that most of us start with, and that's a paper logbook. And again, it can be anything from, say, a spiral notebook here that you kind of have. I did this one by frequency, and this is actually morphed into my lifetime logbook, so I kind of know all the stations that I've heard on a frequency, no matter where I've lived. So you can do something like that, where you have a different page for frequency, or maybe you just start on page 1 and just write everything you hear and then keep going through to all the pages. You can also do something like that in like a little journal, like one of these guys. You can also do something like one of these. This is a logbook that I actually purchased. It's from the American Radio Relay League, the ARRL. I'll have a link for you down in the video description. And this is for ham radio, actually. But I got one of these. I was at a ham fest in Virginia Beach back in '93. And I saw this, and I said, that's what I want to put my logs in. And so I just started kind of using that. And I've got several of these, and I've used over the years and filled up and then go on to the next one. But I still keep this. I still keep a paper log as a kind of a backup in case, computerized things go away or fail or whatever. So I always keep a paper log. So this is still current as of my most recent catch, which was yesterday, Las Cruces, New Mexico. You can also just use a piece of paper. It really is up to you. But some things that I think that you might want to consider when it comes to keeping a paper log, if you're going to do so, are some bare minimum pieces of information that you're going to want to store. So date that you heard, what it was that you heard. That's a pretty basic one, right? And the year. Don't forget, a lot of people think, oh, I'm not going to need the year. I mean, no, it's 2022. Until 10 years later from now, when you're looking at it going, what year was that? At the very least, what I usually do, because you'll see here, I don't actually put the year in my date here. What I would do, let's just say today was December 31st and I had this, and now it's going to be, let's say, January 1st. I'll draw a line in my logbook and I'll write in here 2023 DX season, and I'll write my address down, where I'm located, some little basic things so I know kind of, okay, from here forward, this is my new DX year. I need 2023. So you're going to want to have the time that you heard it. You can use your local time zone or UTC time, whatever you're more comfortable with. Obviously, I'm going to write down the call letters or the station name if it's not, if it's maybe like an international station. Like here, I have Radio Santa Rosa in Lima, Peru. Now, they do have a call sign, but I just know it as Radio Santa Rosa. Same thing with like the Cubans. I'll just write Rebelde or Progreso, whatever. Location, and then some notes of what it was that I heard. So you'll see, for instance, here, weak Spanish, decent het with offset around 7435-ish. Weak but parallel to 810 with top of the hour ID, mentioning 104.5 FM, things like that. So whatever it is that you heard. So let's talk about pros and cons of paper. Start with the pros. It's extremely portable. I can take this or my piece of paper or whatever, throw it in my backpack with a portable radio and a pen or a pencil. I'm set. I have everything I need, as long as I have something like a watch or something, my phone with the time on it. It's reliable. I still have my logbooks from the early 90s. No matter what happens, the internet can burn and crash down and microchips can suddenly fail. I've still got all my stations that I've heard logged here. Another thing is it's really easy to just write everything down, to just kind of jot your notes and then move on. And plus, I just like the feel of it. Maybe I'm a little old school in that way. Maybe that's why I still keep a paper log, because I'm a little more old school. Some of the things I don't like. Now, if you have great handwriting, kudos. I'm not one of those. My handwriting can be kind of Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. So your handwriting can be a limitation potentially. So you're like, wait, what does it say? Is that K-E-D-A or K-E-D-H? You're limited in the amount of space that you have for your notes. So if there's a lot of details you want to include in here, you really only have so much room if you're using one of these kinds. If you're using a piece of paper, obviously you have more room, but it takes a lot longer to kind of write all that out. It's also, it's finite in the amount of space that you have, right? So whether I'm using this journal or this spiral notebook, there's only so many pieces of paper in here before I have to go to another one. In these spiral notebooks that I have here, these actual ARRL logbooks, there's only so many logs that I can enter before I'm now full and have to get another one. Another thing that I'm not a huge fan of when it comes to paper log, I kind of touched on it earlier, doing analysis is super hard. It's not that you can't, it's just you have to go through and count one by one, unless you're keeping a separate log sheet somewhere where you're kind of like, okay, here's all my New Mexico stations. And then put a hatch mark every time you get one, or here's all my Texas ones, right? All right, so now let's dive into the more computerized versions of logbooks and see what we can do with those. I wanted to take a moment here to talk about our website, that is DXcentralOnline.com. A fantastic resource for people who are interested in AM and FM DX. I may be a little bit biased, but whether you're a beginner or a seasoned vet, you're going to find some information here that I bet you're going to be able to use. Especially here under our DX101 area, you'll see we have all kinds of information here. If you click on Get Started in DXing, there's a lot of information here about just getting started in DXing. Scroll down to Phase 2, Getting Organized. Boom, look at that, your logbook. So a lot of the stuff we're talking about today, we also cover here on our website with additional examples and details and things like that. You'll see we also have special sections here for AM DXing and FM DXing, like the basics, propagation, different gear. You might want to check for your interest of DX here. We have an FAQ. We have a glossary of commonly used terminology, all kinds of stuff. So definitely check our website out, DXcentralOnline.com. And I want to make sure click on DX Central Gear, And we have a merchandise store and things like that. But go all the way down to the bottom of the page, you'll see the documents section here where we have some templates for you, including an AM logbook template. We're going to get back to this one here in a little bit when we talk about spreadsheets, but go ahead and bookmark it now, dxcentralonline.com, and you can find more information about DXing AM and FM from us on our website as well as here on our YouTube channel. So definitely check it out. All right, so let's start talking about some of the commercially available logbook options that are out there. Specifically, I want to start with this one. It's the DXtream Monitor Log. Now, you can do a search online. There are a lot of different logbook programs out there. Most of them, though, are catered primarily or specifically to the ham radio market. There's not a lot out there for AM DX at all, or just DX in general, like shortwave and things like that. This is one of the exceptions, and it's one that I did a review on back when I wrote for Monitoring Times back in the early 2010s, and found it to be a pretty great program, actually, and they've made a lot of improvements since then. We actually have, if you go up here to our website, again, going back to our website, go to Equipment Reviews. I actually have our DXtream reception log review right here. Again, this is from November of 2012. So that's 10 years ago. They're now up to version 12 on the website here. So going to be drastically different from what you saw 10 years ago, but can still be a resource to kind of get you an idea of what to expect. So this is a built-in program that's already got everything ready to go for you. All you have to do is just start putting in what you're hearing. It has a lot of great functions, including some rig control integration with some of the SDR software out there, like SDR Console, HD SDR, SDR Uno, things like that, which you're not going to probably have if you're building your own logbook in a database or a spreadsheet, unless you're just a genius with APIs and things like that. So this is one that takes care of a lot of the heavy lifting for you. You can see here it does things like importing in solar conditions. You can put information in here about obviously what you heard, but also you'll see here on the product summary page, you can even put in things like QSLs. Definitely recommend, if you're looking for kind of a put together, built-in, all-in-one solution that you don't really have to think about. You just buy it and use it. DXtream Monitor is a great one. Now, we're not getting any kickbacks from the folks at DXtream. I just know this program. I've used it. I like it. Some of the pros, obviously, it's already ready to go, right? You've already got everything you need built. You just plug it in, to your computer, download it, install it, turn it on, start using it. You're good to go. And it's got a lot of things you can still customize. There are things like user-defined fields that you can use to customize to track maybe a piece of information that you're not currently tracking in the software already, if they didn't have it already kind of built out. So you can do one like time of day or whatever it might be that you want to track. You can build that into that user-defined field. And obviously all the analytics and everything kind of going with that, it's all there. It's already there for you. Con, if I had to pick one, is going to be the price, $95 US if you're buying it brand new. If you have a previous version, you're wanting to upgrade from version 11 to 12, it's $40. So that's something to consider. If you're on a budget, if you don't have any money that you've kind of earmarked for a logbook, you want to do it on the cheap or the free, maybe not DXtream Monitor. But this is an option if you were looking for a commercially available option, you don't have time or want to or have any interest in building a database or a spreadsheet or whatever, you want to upgrade from a paper log to something a little more intense, here you go. You have all kinds of reporting and everything else you need to do for the analysis. It's all built in. This is a fantastic program, one that I've used before, and I highly recommend for folks. So if you're looking for that, with all the different functionality that is in there, this can be a great option for you. So DXtream Monitor Log version 12 is where they're up to now. I'll put the link in the video description below. That way you can check it out. There are, again, a lot of other options out there. Most of them are ham radio related, but for shortwave, medium wave, FM type DX folks, this is one of the things that you can definitely use. So coming up next, let's take a look at another digital computerized logbook, and that is the spreadsheet. Now, let's go back to our website here, dxcentralonline.com. Click on DX Central Gear, go all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see here in the documents, we have an AM logbook. Click on the image to download it. It downloads into an Excel file. So if you are familiar with Excel, if you already have Microsoft Excel, you're good to go. Just download it, open it up in the program, and have at it. If you're not an Excel owner, that's not a problem. You're still covered. Go create a free account at Gmail if you don't already have one, and log into Google Sheets. On the far right-hand side, a little file folder. Click on that, and then click Upload, and then go to wherever you put your file. Hit that, enter, and it's going to upload this file into Google Sheets, which is going to give you the exact same functionality that you have in Excel. There are two tabs at the bottom. There's a logbook. This is where you actually put your logs, what you've heard. And then there's a data analysis tab. And what this one is I've basically created the 4 basic tables that I use to track my log data. And Google Sheets will automatically refresh for you. If you're using Excel, you have to right click and hit refresh. But in Google Sheets, it automatically refreshes for you. We'll show you that here in a moment so that you have up-to-the-date metrics and analysis on your logbook. And we've given you some of the basic and most essential fields here on the spreadsheet. So for instance, you have date, you have time. Right now it's 1900 local time. Frequency, let's say 880. Station, WCBS. New York, US, or USA, however you want to do it. Just be consistent. You want to make sure you're consistent. Top of the hour ID, local weather, traffic, localized news about apartment construction. For my radio, I'm going to put in my Perseus here. My antenna, we'll call it Northern Cas or whatever you've got. And then for time of day, let's just call that sunset. We have a pre-populated menu of options there for you to choose from. And then if I click on data analysis, it's updated for me. I don't have to do anything. It's already there. So if you're looking for a way to get your feet wet with digitized logbooks, this template's going to be a great option for you. You just go in, download the file, either open up in Google Sheets or in Excel or whatever spreadsheet program you use, put your stuff in the logbook, you're done. The data analysis is already built for you and ready to refresh whenever you put your stuff in, and that's it. And it's super easy. You saw how quickly I was able to put my information in there. So let's talk about pros and cons of spreadsheets, whether you're using our template or building your own. They're extremely easy, as you've seen. Entering the information in just takes a few moments. I feel quicker than handwriting all of it out. I don't have to worry about my handwriting being a problem here because it's all computerized. I can read that very easily. I may make a typo, which might cause some snags later on. For instance, if I made a typo here and I just typed in US instead of USA, now I go to my data analysis. Now I've got an extra country here called US and then another one called USA. So I'm going to want to reconcile that, right? It's portable as it needs to be. I can put this on my tablet or a laptop or even on my phone. And if I'm going to have an online connection, I can get on here and do that. If I'm not, I can go on to, if I don't use the Excel file version, go to File, Download, and download a copy that I can then put on my computer and do it offline. You've got options here of being able to do what you need to do portably with this Excel file or this spreadsheet file, whether you're online or not. This is the hardest part, is building this data analysis part. And we've already done that for you. So you're good to go. All you have to do is just put your stuff in. It's extremely customizable. So if you want to add more to it or take away some of the fields that are here, you can do that. I'm a big fan of spreadsheets for a log. Now, I keep a database for mine for reasons we'll look at here in a few moments, but I still use a spreadsheet for all of my data analysis. So I export out to a spreadsheet, and then once I'm in the spreadsheet, now I'm doing my data analysis. And you'll see I'm tracking by freak, by time of day, by state, or province, and by country. The same 4 things that we've given you on this tab right here. I'm doing the exact same thing. Cheap. This is free. You go download our template for free. You go log into Google Sheets with a free Gmail account, and Google Sheets is free. You're done. Costs you $0. So even if you don't have Excel, you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to do anything. It's all there, already ready to go. So as far as ease of getting into a digital logbook, this couldn't be any easier or cheaper than we've made it. If you're building it from scratch, obviously there's the time and the knowledge you have to do that, both for building the logbook itself and then also for the data analysis piece to have that kind of built out. We're going to do another video later on about pivot tables and how to do all that. So if you want to build your own or do your own analysis and things like that, you'll have a starting point. Let's talk about the cons. You have to have a computer. Computers can cause noise depending on what your setup is. So you may find that to be not as helpful for you with your DX. It does require some knowledge. You do have to know how to build or work in a spreadsheet. You have to understand pivot tables if you're wanting to use those to do a data analysis. So there's some learning curve that can happen there. So that's a con. You know, you can lose a digital format. If you store it in the cloud, Google could go away, and then you've lost your file. If you store it on your machine, your hard drive can corrupt, or your USB external hard drive or not floppy disk, those USB sticks, those can corrupt. You can lose your files, but having redundant backups can get you around that. Having an online and a computer version and on a hard drive and things like that. If you have redundant backups, archive versions, you should be good. It's not tactile. It's not in your hand, although you can print it. If you would really want to, you can print your spreadsheet out. Can't think of any other cons. If you think of anything, let us know in the comments. We'd love to know. This is one of those, for me, the pros definitely outweigh the cons. Definitely check our website out, dxcentralonline.com. Download our template. We have an AM and an FM template, by the way. We've given you the same basic stuff, but instead of time of day, it's propagation type. But we've given you a template you can at least start from there. So AM and FM are both available to you. Coming up next, let's dive into what I use here at DX Central to log my DX sketches, and that is a database. Using Microsoft Access, you see I've built myself a nice little form here to put all my data in. So I'm tracking the same things you saw in that spreadsheet: frequency, call sign, city, state, date, time. I do keep one here though, NSLA number, North Shore, Louisiana, Mandeville. So this is how many stations I have heard here in Mandeville. Now, the reason that I have a field for this is I want to make sure I have a count for every station that I've logged. By doing this, I make sure that every single station that I've logged is assigned a value here. So it's easy for me to audit, and it's also easy for me to go back and say, what was the 100th station that I heard from Mandeville? What was the 500th station that I heard? You can just go back and find it. I also do the same thing, but with my lifetime number, so I can track how many I've heard lifetime. I have a notes section, which is kind of like extra stuff. Like if I have, like I was using a special setup or a special situation, like if I log something on the live stream, I usually put it in here, right? Mileage, which I want to do that for all of my logs, but I've really only done it for my graveyarders. I started trying to do it for everything, and then I got out of the habit. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to go back and fix all that now. Maybe I will. I don't know. But I do it absolutely for every one of my graveyarders, so I can see what my graveyard records are for each frequency, state, whatever. Recorded, did I have the SDR rolling at the time that I heard this station? Was it recording? Separately from that, did I grab an air check out of that recording that I can then upload to the YouTube channel? So for me, I want to know which ones do I have an air check for, which ones do I not. And if I don't have an air check, maybe I can go get it off the recording, or I know I need to go get one off of a future recording. And maybe the recorded thing was just, I can show you what I heard, but it's not what I consider air check quality. And then you'll see my DX season that I added here. Fill all this out every time I log a station. Super easy. I just hit my tab button to go from box to box to box. And then that exports out to this, which kind of looks like a spreadsheet. Kind of is. It's a table. And then from there, that's what I then go here to external data, hit Excel, and export this to a spreadsheet, which gives me this. So I have this spreadsheet here that has everything I've heard in it. And then I make a pivot table to do all my analysis off all the different things that I track. So that's it. It's super easy. Let me show you some of the pros, though, of why I use a database and also some of the cons, but the pros of why I use a database. The number one reason why I chose a database over a spreadsheet is because I want this field right here, call sign, to be unique. I want the database to tell me if I'm entering something that I've already put in before. This keeps me out of entering duplicates and counting them twice. You'll see here, for instance, radio rebellion. I can only put one radio rebellion then, right? So my solution for that was to go parentheses frequency, which actually helps because then I can see if I sort by this, if I sort alphabetically, what are all the rebellions that I have? And then I can compare that to my list of known rebellion outlets and say, what am I missing? The other pro for me is this. It's the form and being able to fill this out the way that I do. For instance, let me show you. Watch this. 9, 5. It automatically puts the year in for me, the current year. If I want to force it to 2021 or 2020, I can do that. But otherwise, I just put in like today's month and date. It fills in the year for me automatically. That's another nice little thing that I don't have on my spreadsheet. I'm sure I could. It was easy to do here. And then obviously you have your time, your power, comments, radio, which I just type in I made a little pull down menu of all my different options. I just type in the first letter and there I go. Or if I'm doing one like AirSpy where I have a couple, I just choose the one that I need to use here. Same thing for antenna. I can just pick and choose which one I want to have. Same thing for this. I have a preset menu of my day parts, my number here, and then did I record it? Yeah. Did I air check it? Yeah. And then 2022. That is another one that I could make a list from. I just haven't done it yet to choose which one I want to choose from so I don't like accidentally have like a 2022, 24 or some typo like that, like this, or something like that. I can keep it consistent. So that is something that I can do. And then to add, expand, and things like that, super easy once you understand how to put this together. The cons, number one, this is not easy. This took me some time. I had a learning curve and still do on working with a database. So if you're already familiar with that, no worries. You're good. I wasn't a database guy, so I had to learn how to do this. Luckily, it wasn't that bad. It was not hard at all. And again, I'll put together a video that kind of shows what I've done and kind of building out a basic template. And I'll put that template up on the website. So if you are a Microsoft Access user, you can start from that. Or if you can use an Access file and import it into yours, I don't know how well the transfer will work, but you can at least try. The other thing that's a little bit of a con, exporting this when you made updates and things like that is easy to do. But every time you export it, now you either overwrite your existing file or you do a new version of the file, where before we saw on the Excel spreadsheet that we were looking at, it refreshed. When I added new logs, it refreshed my table, right, my analysis. This doesn't do that. So I have to, whenever I'm doing my analysis, I kind of have to rebuild it every time. And that can kind of be a pain to rebuild these every time. I've gotten pretty quick at it, so it's not that bad, but it'd be nice if it just refreshed. I could probably just copy and paste the new rows or something like that. I'm lazy, but this is a great option. I'm a huge fan of this. I do this for all of my home logs. So Charleston was a database. Mandeville is a database. When I do my portable DX, I used to do a database. I don't anymore. Now I do an online logbook, and we're going to look at that next on mediumwavelist.org. Now, when a lot of people think about medium wave list, they're probably thinking about this. This is their medium wave list, quick and easy. It is a station list by frequency, so you can see all the different stations that are on each frequency. And that's a huge help for a lot of folks, but for what we're talking about here, we're actually talking about their logbook functionality. To use their logbook functionality, you actually have to have an account. And once you do, you log in and you click on My AM. It will set up a location that basically tells them where you're located. Then you just DX. Go to 690 here. And it gives you a station list of all the stations that are on that frequency that you're on. And it's doing so in the order in which it thinks you're most likely to hear. So in this case, the first station on the list, yeah, that's a New Orleans station. That's the most likely one I'm going to be hearing. Then there's an Alabama. Then there's an Arkansas. There's a Florida. And so it's kind of going out from there into what it thinks I might be hearing, what are most likely for me to be able to hear here. That can be so helpful at helping you narrow down what you're hearing. Medium wave list, logging on medium wave list is a huge, huge, huge help because it has the station list built into the logging interface that you have. So how do I log a station? Well, let's just say I was hearing WJOX over here. On this left-hand side, you see where it says log, there's a little L. Click on that L, and you then see your interface screen. Let's say I'm doing a nighttime DX. You can either data or local daytime. It pre-fills out all the details here for you, including how far you are away from that station. In this case, for me, it's 282 miles. The azimuth, their power, the date, which is UTC date, and time, which is UTC time. It is still the 5th of September here locally at 19:46 p.m. It's giving me tomorrow because it's already tomorrow UTC. That is something you may want to consider. Is that a problem for you or not? You can obviously change it here if you want to. You can come over here and change that if it's really that big of a deal. It's still going to label it as UTC, but you'll know it's really not if you update it. So that's up to you. You put the details in here. Obviously, those are the programming details of what you're hearing. And then finally, down here in the remarks, that's where you can put anything else you want to put in. And in this case, what I suggest that you would use this for would be any of those other pieces of data that you want to track that aren't built into the log file here at Medium Wave List. Because you can't add columns. I can't add a column for radio. I can't add a column for antenna. But I could say Perseus, and then either put like a comma or a semicolon, and then come back over here and say my antenna. So I could say Southern Cas. And again, either a comma or a semicolon, and then I could say Sunset. So I can't add those columns in for those things, but I can add them into the remarks. And if I use a column or a semicolon, then when I export my log out from Medium Wave List into an Excel spreadsheet, which you can do, I can then, through some of the functions in Excel, extrapolate those pieces of data out into their own separate columns. We'll add that in when we do our Excel video. We'll add that in as one of the things we talk about. Yeah, I would just hit submit, and then that would be a station I have logged here on this frequency. If I go to my logbook here, you'll see there's the azimuth, there's the mileage. I didn't add any details because it was actually coming from my Jaguar software that I have. Time, date, station, all that. Everything you need is here. There's the state, here's the country, all the stuff we've been tracking with the exception of columns dedicated to radio, antenna, time of day, which again, you can add into the remarks if you are so inclined. If I go up here now and click on all, there's my entire logbook. Here's everything. And then I can sort these fields at the top up here. So I click on mileage, for instance, it's going to go low to high. If I click on it again, it's going to go high to low. Look at that. There's Radio Santa Rosa, 3,055 miles. That's my furthest DX catch that I've had here in Mandeville. But yeah, this is a super, super easy interface. Has a station list built in. I still do use my NRC AM log, even with this station list here. And let me show you why. Let me give you an example. I'm going to go to 670 kilohertz. You'll see, for instance, WYLS over here where usually you would see like format, like you see here, Sports Talk. There's no format listed. So my NRC log is still the only place I'm really going to see that. But it can help you start to narrow down who it is that you're hearing. Plus you have links. You have links for like their station website. You have links for their stream. You can add recordings in of what you heard. You can actually add in an air check, things like that. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do here to make this as robust as possible. I use this whenever I go portable. Whenever I'm set up in a different location, you'll see here's my Omaha. I heard these three stations when I was in Omaha, Nebraska. So I set up a new location from Omaha, log everything in there so I don't have to make a new database. I just do it on here, and then I export it out and I do my analysis. So everything I need is right there. If adding in additional fields is not important to you and being tethered to being online is not a problem for you, Medium Wave List is free. It's robust. Check this out on your logbook, Worldwide Visual Logbook. I can actually see now. Look at this. Here's what everyone heard on the 5th of September that logged it on medium wave list. So I've got a guy here, Matthew Gile in Halifax. We can see only what he did if we wanted to. So there's everything that Matthew logged. Here's our buddy Tim Tromp. Let's look at what Tim did. We're going to get mad when we see it. Look how far this is. Look how far. Now I'm going to go back to show all logs. I got Tim Tromp. Let's look at all of his logs, his complete logbook here. You really want to get mad. This is Tim's complete logbook, 2,395 logs. Look at that. Look at everything Tim has heard from his location in Michigan. Look at that. Look at all of that. There's all the Asian stuff he's heard, South Pacific, Africa, Europe, Greenland. Did you hear Alaska stuff? That probably counts as Alaska. Yep. It's 530 kilohertz. He's heard pretty much everything on the eastern half of the country here. Good job, Tim. Wow, look at you. Another thing you can do as well is you can export your logs to Google Earth. So obviously with that visual, you can do your own logs too. So for instance, I'm going to go find mine that I did on the 4th. There's me. So here's my 2 that I heard that day. Here's my complete logbook that I've done so far from Mandeville. That's depressing after seeing Tim's, isn't it? But yeah, you can do your own logbook as well visually, but you can also export it to a Google Earth file and then import that into Google Earth and have it on a Google Earth image. Your entire logbook, everything you've heard. Pros, super easy to use, free, robust, built-in station list. You can export it out to your spreadsheet for all your analysis. You've got all your mapping tools built in, including Google Earth as well. Cons, you're tethered to online, so you have to have an online connection. And I would say the other one is you can't add custom fields. I love it. I do this in addition to my database. Here's my complete log. So I keep a log of all of the stuff that I've heard here. This helps me keep track of my mileage, the mapping, and things like that. So, and I, again, also do this whenever I go portable and do a portable DX session from a new city or whatever. So I'm a huge fan of medium wave list. Oh, that visual thing that we talked about here. Let's say I look on here and I see a bunch of people hearing down in the South America. Over in here, they're here in South America. Over in here, they're here in South America. Over here, they're here in South America. Guess what? There's probably a good opening into South America. So now I know, based on that data, to go look for South America and see if I'm hearing it. And so we all kind of communally share what we're hearing visually. You can see it. You can also see the actual log itself down here at the bottom. Here's the actual text log. But you can see it as well visually, so you'll know, do I need to go fire up the radio and go look at and see how South America's coming in? So the more people who are using this, the better it is for everybody by being able to share that information and that data. Just like we do on the FM side with FM lists during e-skip openings, same thing here. And that's it. Everything you ever wanted to know about logbooks. Hopefully this information has provided you some guidance, whether you're going to go the paper route or something on your computer or even online. Hopefully you found the guidance that you need to make the best decision for what fits for you. If this video has been helpful, we'd ask that you give us a thumbs up and leave a comment down below with any questions or comments or suggestions you might have. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when new videos are available. From all of us here at DX Central, thank you so much, my friends, for joining us and for your continued support. We appreciate it more than I can even begin to express to you. It really does mean a lot to me. Be sure to join us for the start of DX Central Live, Season 3, coming up when? Friday, September 23rd, right here on the YouTube channel, starting at 23:45 UTC. That's 18:45 Central Daylight Time. We'll be going live with live AMDX right here on DX Central Live. Thanks, my friends. Take care. Best of DX 73. Now, let's go hit the bands and log what we hear.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.